Your car broke down, and that was a couple thousand. You had to replace a toilet and a fridge. There's another couple thousand. But there are 8,000 other things that are going to be huge financial attacks on you. The more you have, the more you have to be prepared to pay.
It's not only the numbers, it's the emotional attachment that we have to our home. The thought of packing things up and moving now in this time just seems impossible. You barely have the strength to get out of bed and go to work some days, never mind putting all your stuff into a U-Haul and moving to a new home.
Divorce can be emotionally and financially overwhelming. That's why I'm teaming up with Sunny Wishart, president and founder of a la carte Financial and a certified financial planner. We will show you how to understand all things money without feeling ashamed, overwhelmed, embarrassed. You will learn more, ask questions. No question is a dumb question. Welcome to Money with Sunny. Let's get into it.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome, Sunny.
Good morning.
So this is Money with Sunny, and today we're going to talk about having to sell your family home. Very difficult situation for a lot of women. Family home means a lot to a lot of us. It's complicated, and we're going to talk about selling the family home and then making the decision whether to rent a home or purchase another home. You got to take this really seriously. You have to look at your reality of your situation, look at what is your actual financial situation and what makes most sense for you right now. And I think the best way to go about it is to work with a money expert. That's why we're talking to Sunny today. So I'm going to hand it over to you and we'll begin the conversation.
Yeah, this one I talk about a lot. And oh boy, there's a lot of feelings. When it comes to whether to sell your home or not, I have to be so delicate with my conversation. We are so wrapped up in this home. And what would be super helpful coming into having I can talk hard numbers, no problem. I can paint number pictures. We could do that. But if you are, I have to stay in my home, no ifs, ands, or buts, I'm going to want to know why. And let's talk about your why on this one, because if your why is just, I don't know, is it good enough? Is it good enough to maybe stay in something that isn't going to work for you? Or just if you just understand it more, then we can move forward with your why and say, okay, now we understand your why you have to stay in the home. Let's move forward with this. But if you drill down and your why is just because, for example, you feel bad, my kids stay here. I know our marriage is over. I know he has moved out. I need to stay here or else my kids will be upset. Is that to be true, or are you projecting that on the kids? Right? So it's just something to understand and dig before we start talking the hard numbers. So I'll just do the math. Like, let's look at your monthly. What does it cost to carry the home? And do those numbers line up? Problem with that math is, sure, you could do that on your own. Yes, my income, because I'm now one income, can support the home. But what does that mean? That is not the mortgage, taxes, utilities. That's one thing. But there are 8,000 other things that are going to be huge financial attacks on you. You're going to need that new furnace. Something is going to break in the house that you are responsible for repairing in order to keep living in something habitable. Do you make enough money to build up a $10,000 buffer to repair your home? Is taking your kids on vacations important to you? Even if you're just renting a cottage or doing little Niagara trips, I'm going to tell you, these little trip weekends away, they add up to the same as a big one. And that's important time with your kids. That's quality time. So is staying in the home more important than those quality trips that could be important to you? Or more important than extracurricular activities? the amount of money I see going out to cover things like lessons and camps that isn't accounted for when they do the quick math of rent versus buy. They just add up. They add up before you know it. So make sure you have a true picture of the amount of money going out. Yes, you're still going to be paying for extracurricular when you rent. Maybe you could save a little more easily for that when you're not covering the maintenance costs of a home. Maintenance costs of a home are 5 to 10,000 a year. Be it happened in that year or 20,000 was in the next year, it happens. Can you absorb that? And that's stuff we have to really look at. Is the attacks on your finance. Or if you're refinancing over and over and over again because you can't afford to pay to stay in the home, is that doing you any good? Is that stressing you out? How do you feel about
Let me
that?
ask you something,
Yeah.
Sunny. What is refinancing?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I could go on.
Yeah, no, I like it.
So refinancing is something like you've got some lines of credits and credit cards. Your car broke down and that was a couple thousand. Your dog got sick, that was a couple thousand. You had to replace a toilet and a fridge, there's another couple thousand. Well, at the end of the year, you're $10,000 in the hole. And then the next year, you're another $10,000 in the hole. And you're like, geez, I had all these one-offs. They're not one-offs. That's the risk you take when you have all these assets. You have things. The more you have, the more you have to be prepared to pay. So then after a few years, next thing you know, you have $60,000 of crippling debt. You cannot pay this off. Your home comes up, your mortgage comes up for renewal, and then you just sweep it all into the mortgage and have a bigger one nice easy payment. And that's okay once. But it's when you're doing it on every renewal and then every next renewal, and your mortgage balance is never going down. And then you're sailing into retirement with a large mortgage because you actually could not afford to stay where you are.
Okay, I get it. So, when you first meet with someone, what information should they have gathered? What should they be thinking about before they meet with you and have to make a decision as to whether they stay in their home or sell their home? And then decision number two, whether they rent or whether they buy another home. This is a lot of major decisions, and it takes some time to learn and to figure out what the best choice and what the best decision is for you and your family going forward. So, where to begin?
So first I need to know whether you're okay or not getting out of the home. Because we can look at you staying in the home and we can run the numbers and say, this is what it looks like, even if it's for the next X amount of years till your kids launch. And how much is it costing you to be in the home? Because perhaps you have a small mortgage and renting isn't beneficial, you know? And to be honest, if you sell your home and rent, getting out of the housing market is tough because getting back in is really tough, especially if you live in these areas like GTA or, in one of these big booming housing areas. If you're in certain areas of the country where housing is slow, it's not as bad. But if you're in the GTA, say, and you get out of the housing market, I got to say, I've seen this happen to women. They just liquidate everything in the separation, the divorce process, and they just sit somewhere temporary for a couple of years. Now they're trying to get back in and they can't afford anything that meets their standards, even with a massive chunk of money from the sale of a home.
And why is that?
They go up so fast, and she only got half of the value of the residual value of their original home, the marital home. So she didn't get the whole equity out of that other house. She got half of it, which is still a lot of money. But when you're now one income, qualifying for a mortgage on one income, you only have half the equity of the house that you're in. It's a whole lot less house that you could buy.
Mm.
So renting is sometimes I like renting because if you're going through a lot of stressful things right now, renting is going to reduce your stress. It's going to say, there, just sit here for a little bit, get the rest of your ducks in a row, and limit what I call the attacks on your finances. So you're not going to worry if something breaks, not your problem. And something will break in a house.
Mhm.
So it's not your problem. Limit those attacks. pay for your kids. If you have a kid in rep sports or something, just ride the wave for a while and just calm the anxiety and the money worries and things like that. And it's okay to do that.
Yeah. So the first thing that you'd recommend a woman gathers is her why. Why do you want to sell your family home? Or why are you okay with selling your family home? Why are you not okay with selling your family home? Give that some thought. And then bring that to you. And then you can put together some scenarios. Looks like this if you rent, looks like this if you buy, looks like this if you stay. Is that about right?
Exactly. Like paint the picture and see what it looks like. And I'm really good at making sure we cover all the costs. I hear all the things people say. I hear if they have pets or if they have an old car. Like, let's not sweep that old car under the rug yet.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Are you going to want a new car soon? Or is your car starting to require some cost? Where's that money coming from? So I can easily talk about true cost, but I do ask them when we look at the rent versus buy, when we look at anything, it's what did you spend last year? You know, how responsible for all these costs are you now? Are you 100% responsible for all the kids' extracurricular camps, all that stuff? Or are you splitting it? Is that going okay? Because there's a lot of times where it's in the agreement we're to split these costs, but it's not happening. Okay, then I need to put that true cost in there because you could in 1 month be liable for that. And there's the attack on the finances right there.
Yeah, that's something that I've experienced as well with my clients. The agreement says he should be paying this or that, and he doesn't. So when you put a plan together for a mom who is transitioning through divorce, should she be creating that plan on her own as if she wasn't receiving any money from anyone else ever? And that is financial independence. Or should she be creating the plan in the hopes that he pays, which he should, but sometimes he or she doesn't. So how do you look at that and how do you deal with that?
That's for sure a conversation we have is he paying? I have to ask because sometimes they'll say, yes, he's paying the support payments, no problem, spot on, great. Let's include that. But no, he has not been sending half of daycare or half of camp or half of this. That we need to, that money is coming out of your bank account. You are responsible for these costs unless you're canceling your kids' camps. I have to take that out because that is a true cost to you. And if he does pay, we're going to put that in the other bucket to pay for the next camp or the next one because it'll come after you've already had to take it out of your pocket. So
Okay. So
I definitely include them.
when you initially meet with someone, do you create plans based on her paying for everything, regardless of what the separation agreement says? Or, okay, so scenario one would be he pays everything on time, all the time. This is how it looks. Scenario two, he never pays anything ever, ever. That's scenario two. Is that how we should realistically look at things? Because what I'm thinking is I see people staying in their home fairly house poor to begin with, but then if one payment is missed by their spouse, that's a huge problem. So now you can't quickly sell your home. This takes time. So what I'm wondering is what is the best plan? Is there a best plan, or is it just a unique and individual conversation every single time?
It's always unique. Everyone is different with what they not only should be receiving, but what they are receiving. So definitely we don't go with whatever's in the agreement because that is not to be true. That's just a piece of paper saying you should do this, but no one's making it happen. So if you know the person and if you know that either you've already had enough time under your belt that they are not paying or they do, but it can't be relied on, it cannot be included in your plan. I've had other ones that say, yep, spot on. We have a perfect agreement. We split everything. It's no problem. That's the exception, not the norm. But I'm like, good. So you've been doing this a couple years now, and you know this is okay. We will run it to include it. No problem. But if you're not confident and you're in the early phases, and you're like, so far he hasn't, I'm like, it's out. We won't include it because you will need that money for anything at any time, but we're going to treat that as bonus money.
That's what I was thinking. It's gravy. If it comes in, it's bonus money. And so I was thinking you're far better off to plan on what you know and can control, and then anything that comes in from anyone else, whether it's a gift from a parent or spousal support or child support or anything, any extra money comes in, super duper. That's gravy. I'm not sure making your financial plan include that is a great idea. That's not financial independence or freedom. That's still needing someone else to support you, which,
Mhm.
hey, we've all been there. Everybody needs support from time to time. This is not what we're talking about. If you need, you know, $50,000 from a parent or a grandparent or to help you get through this time, sure, no problem. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about creating a financial plan for you and your family for the rest of your life based on what you can control and money you can make and earn. That makes most sense to me. Is that how you work typically, or is it just some people insist put these spousal supports and child supports into, or would that be a scenario two? And the scenario one is all you.
Yeah, we definitely do. I call myself a conservative planner, meaning if I get even catch wind that that money isn't reliable, it's out. And because one, it's not usually an absolute ton of money, or you could put it in the kids' RESPs, or when the money does come in, you will need it for all those little thousand things I mentioned, all those extras. So that would be a great way to help cover those costs or pay for a special camp or something for the kiddo. But to include it in your cash flow, the other thing I find that is, and I think you're right, it's not independence. I have seen this happen where you don't realize that when the money does come in regularly, that you are actually living off of it yourself. It is not funding your kids as much as you think. And when it stops, that's when the house has to get sold. I've seen that because they realize
Mhm.
I'm not making enough money to actually pay for this house. And I was living off of that child support. And it was paying for the kids to an extent, but it was also paying your bills. So I've seen women that once the kids leave, they're 18, off they go, the child support stops. Like if they don't go off to school or whatnot, all these arrangements. And the house had to go up for sale then because oh, I need that money.
That's right. Yeah. So there's a lot to consider. It's not only the numbers, it's the emotional attachment that we have to our home, where all the memories have been made with the little babies, and you don't want to upset your children and move them. All their friends are in the neighborhood, your friends are in the neighborhood, you're familiar with this home. The thought of packing things up and moving now in this time just seems impossible. You barely have the strength to get out of bed and go to work some days, never mind putting all your stuff into a U-Haul and moving to a new home. So this is not easy, but necessary. It's necessary for you to, at some point in the near future, really know where your home should be and what is best for you and your financial situation. Because home is where you hang your heart. So your home can be anywhere. And if your heart is there and the love is there, the kids will be great, you'll be great. That I know for sure. You can do this and create the same wonderful, maybe even more wonderful environment in a new four walls. That's for sure. But it's the overwhelm and the emotional anxiety of having to even think about this now that's so tough. So I think meeting with a money expert, whether it be Sunny or someone else, interview a few people and find out who you connect with, what works best for you, is a best first step. And then, Sunny, maybe you can leave us with the next two best steps, step 2 and 3, to help us decide whether staying is the right choice, leaving is the right choice, leaving to rent is the right choice, leaving to purchase another home, leaving to live at mom's house for a while. What are the next two things that you think are most important here?
Well, I think first would be what is truly going to help you see the light at the end of the tunnel. So, like you say, so step one, you've got enough going on right now. Is staying in the home going to make you feel better? Or is staying in the home going to be a constant source of anxiety of how am I going to make this work? I have to make this work. If it's going to be that, then you need to rethink your options because I just want to see you come out the other side, letting the dust settle. And if after all of the other stuff settles and you're stuck in this home now that you've done all this legwork to get in, because that's also not easy transitioning the home to yours only name. You have to qualify, you have to go through the numbers because that's step two. Step two is the numbers. You don't just get to keep the home. The mortgage lender is going to say, hey, and you're gonna say, I want my ex-husband off title. Well, then the lender is gonna say, I want you off the, I want him off the mortgage too. And you have to qualify by yourself. So depending on where that's at, depending on what phase you are in financially, you'll have to go through that process as well. And that's not easy too. It's expensive. And well, you know what it's like to qualify for a mortgage. You got to provide all these paperwork. They're going to want to see separation agreements. They will have to be done. So there's also a lot to consider there. So one, where are you going to feel most at peace once you do come out the other side and the dust needs to settle from all this tumultuous time? Two, are you willing to go through that process too? It's not just packing up and moving, it's staying has its own set of hoops you're going to need to jump through. I know, like, I just refinanced my home, set it all up, that cool HELOC and stuff like that. And I got a note from the lender asking me to confirm and show documents that I was divorced 14 years ago. It haunts you, this stuff. It was such a joke, such a joke. I thought it's 14 years ago. That stuff follows you. So, just to kind of keep that in mind, if you're going through this and you want to stay in the home, it's not just a matter of erasing his name off everything. It's not that easy.
So if you decide that you want to stay in the home, a first step would be to go to your bank and figure out whether you can qualify to have your name only on the mortgage. That's a first step there. And then
Well, they won't qualify you till you have a separation agreement in hand. They won't even run the numbers because they don't know what money you're going to get or what money you'll have to pay.
I was working with someone who was qualified to have the mortgage transferred in her name prior to separation agreement because she could afford it on her own
Nice.
with the income that she had. So she was
Good.
okay. So I think it just depends on your financial status. And some women they can, but then there's other considerations that we talked about. It's the emotional consideration. I work with women who move and after say it's the best thing they ever did. It's a fresh start. It's the new cushions on their own couch. It's the fluffy pink bedspread on their king size bed in their bedroom. It's the whatever you want. So, I mean, this is cool too. You can just start over. That's pretty awesome. But it does come down to understanding your numbers and understanding your why. So, if you know your why for doing what you're doing and you know your numbers, then go for it. This is your life and you can run with it. And it can be a lot of fun. So it's been a great conversation today. It's a tough one for a lot of right reasons and a lot of wrong reasons. People choose to stay in their homes, they choose to leave their homes, and figuring all that out just takes a little bit of time. But that's why you have us. We're here. We're here to help you. We know this is not easy, but it could be fun. It can be lots of fun too. Thanks, Sunny. And we will meet up again next week.